What began as an experiment to bring my 11-year-old daughter into my business has evolved into Our Young Creators, a podcast, a training center, and a movement dedicated to equipping kids with real-world marketable skills so that they can fund their own brighter futures. We're here to inspire you to turn consumption time on devices into creation time and use technology as a tool to bond and not bicker with your kids. Join us each week as we share the inner workings of our partnership and bring you stories from guests of all ages and from all walks of life on our quest to nurture and to celebrate our young creators. Have you ever wanted to do, be, or have something in your life, and then you just didn't make yourself do it? There's a little 4-letter word that often stops so many of us dead in our tracks, and today we are going to talk about just that. My name is Young Pratt, the chief dreamer and podcaster right here at Our Young Creators. And I'm so glad that you are tuning in live, catching the replay, or perhaps listening over on the podcast. Have you guessed what that 4-letter word is? If you guessed fear, you would be correct. Fear is something that I've faced many times in my life, and there have been times when I have faced the fear head on and then literally ran the other way, did an about face, and did exactly the opposite, even though I knew doing that thing could help me in my business or help me professionally. Let me give you an example of this very topic. Back in 2013, I launched my podcast, Raising Smart Kids. It was a podcast for parents to help them really to understand the benefits that the arts had for their kids in terms of developing their brain and learning and different learning modalities. It was something I was really passionate about, and I was doing a lot of these things in my own classroom inside of our performing arts school. I had learned about the theory of multiple intelligences by Harvard professor Howard Gardner and was captivated when I first learned about them. I started to understand why I was the way I was, and when I looked back at my school adventure, I could see different patterns that were emerging that I didn't realize were patterns or explained how I learned best. So I wrapped up these principles and brought them into my classroom, and I really wanted to share with parents outside of our studio how they could do the same things with their kids at home. At the time, my girls were 7 and 10, and one of our favorite activities to do together was crafting. We love making art projects of all kinds, and it quickly became a reality that what I wanted to talk about on my podcast was leaning heavily towards needing to use video. We were doing a lot of step-by-step tutorials, making things from scratch, documenting the process, taking pictures, creating the blog posts, doing the podcast editing. Before I knew it, each week, it would take me a long time to prepare that one piece of content on top of doing other things like running my performing arts school, my job as a mom, me going to graduate school part-time. there was lots on my plate. And as this podcasting adventure became more and more difficult, I felt the need to use video. But quite honestly, video scared the heck out of me. I had been working up until that point on overcoming my fear of talking in front of other people. I joined Toastmasters and went through that program for several years in order to be able to go and do some presentations at some national conventions. But I knew that video was something that I needed, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So just 39 episodes in, I called it quits. Yep, I became a statistic. The majority of people who create a podcast never make it to their 100th episode. So here I was at episode 39, ending the podcast. It was a top-rated podcast on iTunes. I had thousands of downloads, lots of people following me, subscribing, and reaching out to tell me about their successes using the ideas that I had shared on the podcast. And I just quit. I couldn't even face facts and be honest with myself to my listeners to let them know why I was going to stop podcasting. I just literally stopped. And then for 3 years, I held on to the guilt of failing at being a podcaster, or what I thought was failure at the time. I now know it was a lesson I was meant to learn, and I definitely learned from that lesson. So fast forward 3 years when I'm getting ready to launch my first book, and I'm also moving into a new physical space for my brick and mortar performing arts school just 1 month before our year-end concert, plus registering students for summer session. There were so many things going on in my life at the time. And to say that I was busy is really an understatement because there was so much to do that I actually had to enlist a lot of help outside of myself to get stuff done because there were just not enough hours in the day to do everything I needed. So what I committed to when I relaunched the podcast, Raising Smart Kids 2.0, was to create an interview-based show along with some solo episodes so I could really highlight other people's gifts and talents and other people who were making a difference by teaching and living arts out in the world. And I was still scared of doing video at the time. But really what happened is that there were so many things on my plate, so many to-dos. I was really quote unquote busy, like literally busy in my life. And so even though I had that fear, I kind of had to let it go and just do the thing because I knew that I needed to use video to launch my book, to connect with parents, and let them know what was happening inside of our performing arts school as far as changes. There was a lot that I needed to communicate, and doing it via written form and audio just wasn't cutting it anymore, so I had to use video. And you know what? I'm still standing. I didn't die. There's that saying, that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and that is very much the issue with me and video. In the beginning, I hated being on video. I couldn't stand the sight of myself on video. I couldn't stand listening to myself on playback. I just really disliked everything about it. I felt like I didn't have the right equipment or the right set, or nothing was perfect. And I let that stop me from doing more in video. Now, fast forward another couple of years to 2018, and we relaunched the podcast or rebranded the podcast at the beginning of this year as Our Young Creators. And I'm happy to say that we have busted through the statistic of 100 episodes for a podcast. By the end of next week, or 2 weeks, right before Christmas, we're going to release our 200th episode. So to say that I've come a long way in facing this fear of talking in front of people, then being on video is really an understatement. When I meet people now and they see me on video, they just presume that this has come naturally to me and that it's easy for me. In reality, it's not. I love doing video. It's still not something I could do in my sleep, though. I enjoy being here. I really feel like this is how I need to be spending more of my time. But in order for me to do that, I need to face this continual fear of being here with you on live video. And if you are feeling like this, like live video is something you need to do in your life and for your business, and you're just feeling like you want to stay in the corner and do things the way you've always done them, I'm here to say that it's time. We're nearing the end of 2018, and it's time for you to come out of hiding. It is time for you to step onto the stage, into the spotlight, and share the gifts and talents that you have been given. There's a reason that you were put on this planet, and by sharing your gifts and talents, you're going to fulfill your mission here on planet Earth. So I want to invite you. I have two things that we've created for you to help you overcome this challenge of being on live video or putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation like being live video to get out of our comfort zones, because the longer we stay in our comfort zones, the more we stagnate and the more that we are not letting ourselves grow into our full potential. So here's what we have coming up. The first thing we have is that my friend Tasha Cole, aka TC Knows, host of Breaking the Cycle podcast, she and I are co-hosting a challenge starting next Monday. And the challenge is this, and it's free, by the way. And yes, there are going to be some amazing prizes. I just want to say that now, drop that little hint out to you for those people who participate in this challenge. The challenge is this. Go live on Facebook for 100 days in a row. To get yourself registered and join Tasha and I on this adventure, because we both feel the need to come out of our comfort zones and we want to push ourselves further and be able to connect with people we wouldn't connect with if we aren't doing live video. You can head over to bit.ly/100 days of FB Live. Get yourself registered. We're going to create a group for us on Facebook so we can hold one another accountable and we can cheer each other on those days when it just doesn't feel like live video is something we want to do. One of the reasons that I'm personally wanting to dive into this 100-day adventure is that for years, I put up this wall between myself and my business and kept them separate, not understanding that without me being part of the personality of the business, it was really doing a detriment to what my business was able to do and who we were able to serve. So being authentic and showing up here messy is a challenge for me, for sure. So let's be doing this together, and let's be messy and do it boldly and messy together, because that's how we're going to get to that next step. The next thing I have for you is that this weekend we are hosting round number 4 of Podcast in a Weekend. If a podcast is on your wish list or you know somebody who is interested in podcasting, definitely reach out, share this video with them and let them know, because we've learned a lot in these first 3 rounds and we've graduated some amazing, amazing individuals who are literally impacting thousands of people worldwide. And that is a huge thing. I would love to include you in the mix of my graduates. You can save your seat for Podcast in a Weekend at bit.ly/podcast in a weekend. I will come back after I'm done with the live video and pop those links down below for you so you can go right to the thing that makes the most sense for you. The cool thing about Podcast in a Weekend is that we're going to go start to finish to launch your podcast. Even if you're not famous, even if you're not techie, and even if you don't have a lot of time. And the even cooler thing is that those live videos you're going to do in the 100 days, we can breathe new life into those episodes, into those videos by turning them into audio podcasts. And to top it all off, I'm going to show you how to do it automatically. How would you like to create your very own podcast with those videos you're going to do in the 100-day challenge, turn them into a podcast, end 2018 with your very own podcast? And yes, you can do it before Christmas. You can give it as a gift to your clients, to your followers, to your family. There's so many ways you can use a podcast in your business. And so option number 3, my friends, which I have been alluding to in this last few minutes, is that you could do both. Join the 100-day challenge and get out of your comfort zone. Go live with Tasha and I every day on your page or your profile, whatever makes sense. You can do it any time of the day that makes sense for you and when you are inspired to do so. We're going to be doing it right with you side by side for 100 days in a row, starting December 10th. And then if you want to save your seat for this weekend's round of Podcast in a Weekend, I'm going to show you how you can use those very same videos and turn them into podcast episodes. How is that for ending 2018 with a bang? If you have questions about the challenge or the class, please let me know down below. You're also welcome to message me. Again, I will post both of those links to the challenge and to the class down below. And I'm going to leave you with this. If there is something that you want to do in your life and you're facing this wall and it's fear staring back at you and playing with your head, saying things like, who are you to do this? You don't have enough experience, and really even second guessing your self-worth, among other things. I want you to stand there with me boldly, lean in to the fear, press through it, and come out on the other side stronger, bigger, and bolder than you thought you could be. Are you with me? I would love to see you in the challenge or in the class or both, because I know what live video has meant for me and my business, and what facing this fear of doing live video how it has changed everything in my life, not just my business. Okay, my friends, I hope to see you inside one of those things. I will catch you very soon. Cheers. If you're ready to harness the power of technology and get your message out into the world in a big way to make the impact you know you were meant to make for yourself, for your business, or with your family, head over to Instagram or Facebook and message me at Our Young Creators and let me know that you're ready to be our next graduate in the upcoming Podcast in a Weekend class.